Damn! I always love that song from Overclocked Remix. Stepping into the Light. That's one of the best songs they have ever made. Welcome back to another chapter of Trials of a King. Last time, Cecil prepared himself to climb out Mount Ordeals, and he just encountered some new enemies there, aside from the Skullmints and the Skulljers. And man, with just himself, it was quite challenging, as I've added enemies outside of Final Fantasy IV, such as the Death Warden, the Pandora's Boxes, the slime creatures, the unknowns, actually, as well as a few others, including the Hellhounds from Final Fantasy XI, which I never played because I'm not into MMOs. And I'm still not. So, he finally made his way to the summit. Alright, Chapter 5. This next chapter may contain a possible character death and character bashing. Reader's discretion is advised. Seriously, do not reprimand me since I warned you earlier. Resume story! After a long and painful journey, Cecil finally made it to the summit. When he got out of the tunnel, however, it was nothing he'd expect. Still breathing heavy from his last ordeal, he looked around the dire place. Dark clouds were rolling in and getting thicker, instantly blocking out the once bright sky. He remembered his nightmare when the red clouds formed as they covered the sun. The air was getting heavier with each passing second, making him weaker both in body and spirit. Climbed up the unforgiving terrain, he saw a faint light at the corner. That aura belonged to the save point. Only the outside of the ring was lit to keep monsters away, making it an easy place to rest. Cecil's strength was leaving him, so he wasted no time approaching it and pitching up a cottage. After a few minutes it was ready. Cecil started to go on all fours as he crawled inside the safe haven. The cottage was dark, making it easier to sleep in. He unfolded his sleeping bag and curled himself in. He fell asleep almost instantly after he made a prayer. Rosa, I shall return to you. I promise. He trailed off as he closed his eyes and rested peacefully. The temperature among the summit became colder. The wind started to pick up a few knots. The air became more pleasant. There were even a few chains of stars shining down on the silent mountain. Or so it was. A chilling breeze blew over the cottage. Cecil moaned. Still exhausted from yesterday's journey. Then there were some unusual whispers calling his name. He slowly rose his heavy head and listened. He couldn't hear them very well, so he can't tell who was speaking to him. It was almost as if they were talking in his mind. Curious and a little irritated, he sat up and trekked out of the safe area. The voices calling him were more audible, but he still couldn't realize who they belonged to. He soon followed them across a skinny wooden bridge. The sacred altar where he transformed into a paladin was just ahead. He walked across it. The voices suddenly stopped. The wind also halted, and the sky turned into a dark, gloomy purple. What is this darkness I feel? Someone's here. Cecil. So we meet again. That voice sounded like his, but more sinister. Who's there? There was his answer, right in front of him. He looked at the ground and saw a shadow approaching him, then looked up and saw a dark orb that busted. In its place was Dameon! Why are you so surprised? The only thing that was visible was the lower part of his face. I could just imagine meeting you in a devastated place like this. After all, it was just beyond this point in which I was, shall I say, resurrected. Oh, I thought I already told you. Oh wait, it was Rosa whom to I explained everything. The paladin's eyes were full of hatred, something he never felt before. He wished he would tear this stranger apart, showing no mercy but malice in his heart. Tell me, what is it that you know? I suppose I should tell you the truth now, or rather my past life in which you have ruined. He immediately calmed himself as he told him his life story. You see, I was once a part of you. I fed your head with doubt, insecurity, and sometimes evil. When you took up the dark sword and wore my armor, I've been influencing you this whole time. I've made a lot of victims who've lost themselves when they too became dark knights. But I was there to make them proud, powerful warriors. It wasn't for their kingdom when they fulfilled their duties. It was lust for the pleasurable feeling and urges of true darkness. You were the last victim when you became one of them. However, I was unsuccessful. I drove you to madness when you went on a Red Wing mission to Mysidia, as I was the driving force when you slew those helpless mages. I was there, Cecil. I became a part of you ever since, but you still had a strong mind fighting me, resisting me. That was why I gave you these negative emotions, to make you more vulnerable to my influences. But when you entered the shrine here, I separated from you. You were infecting my father! Then his voice was caught in his throat. He was shocked as to why he wasn't destroyed. I thought I vanquished you. Such a naive conception. You didn't defeat me. I was still very much alive. He reminisced whom he wound up in a small deserted island. All there was a tiny forest and a deep, vast cave. When I was vanquished, I wound up in an island somewhere close to Tenebrae. I was inside a cave with no memory of who I was. I was close to dying. I had no energy to spare, so in order to find sustenance, I wandered. He was very weak, crawling to find something to sustain him. He collapsed as he wasted all his energy. I thought I for sure would be dead, and then she found me and nursed me back to health. She was young and very infatuating. I could never keep my eyes off her. Dragon Rose! Yes, she and I were connected. Of course, you may be wondering why she and I were lusting for power. When I gradually got my memory back, I told her everything that's happened. She told me she was estranged from her tribe, so I thought we'd make a great pair for vengeance. We were castaways. And for what? Justice? Retribution? Such trifling things. He realized it was the exact same words his father's spirit said, then remembered him and Dragon Rose beating drums and chanting together. We wanted to take what was ours, and eventually we learned the most lethal magic of all, mind control. We knew we couldn't possibly survive alone, so she and I made our plan. Dameon and Dragon Rose then met a young man the same age. Of course, it's Dameon. Yes. He was the one who carried our dreams through. He was the most trusted and the best fighter that pathetic Chief Abdullah anointed. We decided to bond with him, and our plan worked. He too wanted to overthrow the tribe and rule them as he saw fit. So I told them about this so-called warrior of light. That was what he was used for all along. You seem mortified. Did I tell you too soon? Indeed. You were our own plot device, the force of darkness we've been yearning for all this time. When the lunar eclipse ended, we've been waiting for this legend to come into fruition. And it had. Once you came to us. No! I won't let you use me again! His complexion ravenous, breathing deeply, told back his rage. Don't try to waste your energy. I'm not here to fight you. I'm offering you a choice. Join us again. Instead of trying to subdue him so he could fall prey. You were a valuable tool, and I'm sure Dragon Rose will be waiting to see you once more. Oh yes, she does have a longing for you. That was why she did what she did, to keep you away from that rigid white mage. Rosa, is it? Arrgh! I won't let you! Oh, have you forgotten? I was going to lure your mind into the void. Rosa would suffer because of you since you would abandon her. You do well to make your decision if you value her life. What do you think, Cecil? She would be spared if you join us again. I will not! Suit yourself. Cecil lunged at him. While he left, he laughed. The paladin lowered and sheathed his sword, squeezed his eyes to clear his mind. "No! I will never be one of you! And I will save Rosa and the rest of the world under my own will! I shall prevail. My valor and my strength, and my support for her, shall always be my guiding light. My mind shall never waver." He walked back to the safe point with his head high, though not his spirit. It was morning, but he didn't wake up to what he'd expect. Unlike Baron, there was no birds. In the distance, the air was dry, enormous gray clouds rolled around. Oh, how he wished he would be back there. Still had a job to do. Took down the cottage, marched across the bridge. It was still firm like the last time. Last trek across was quicker compared to now. It almost took over 10 minutes. He wasn't sure if he was nervous or it was simply a long walk from his resting place. Finally got to the other side, he saw a shadowy figure through the thick mist. He thought it was Dameon again, but he stood there until the fog cleared. "Kain! Cecil? What are you doing here? You're not here to relieve me from the mountain by force, are you?" "No, that's not why I'm here." Then, like Kain, he became more somber. "I'm here to retain the light." "What? But you've been up here recently to cleanse yourself from your blood-stained past. Why are you doing this again? This is my mission, not yours. And I don't need your help to do so." "Kain, you never change. I'd be glad to help you, but let me explain." I told him everything. "Ah, so you're not the only unlucky one. It seems we all have our fair share of hardships. I'll make a parley with you." Realizing that both Cecil and Kain had been through darkness, he had an idea. "I'll assist on fighting your darker self. I'll let you go alone first, but I'll be there to recuperate you when you need it. After you become a holy dragoon, you'll aid me in my personal battle. We'll tackle both your demons and then the Redskins. Together. You ready?" Not the type of an ignorant sneer he usually shows. "Yeah." Suddenly they both had a warm feeling inside them. They were reunited at the mountaintop, ready to take down anything that stood in their way. They walked beside each other until what they didn't know was that someone was watching them. A shadowy entity soared above them with an evil smile. "We'll show you how you'll reach the light now. You are mine!" Descended slowly toward the paladin. He sunk into his body. He didn't even notice his presence at all. He was lagging behind. He felt numb again and lightheaded. He started moaning, like as if he was having a bad dream. Uh, 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 Cecil? He felt something inside his soul ready to burst. It was filling him with evil thoughts and desires. He felt the dark energy spread from his body as it started to shake like as if he was very freezing water. Heard a voice. It was Dameon. "Come and serve us, my fine warrior." He realized who was speaking to him. He had visions of him in Dragon Rose making incantations and hearing those dreadful drums again. He remembered why they wanted him in the first place. "I shall consume you, your body and mind. Join us, Paladin." "No, I won't let you." Kain immediately stepped back and realized what was happening. He felt the same way when he was brought back to Baron, still unconscious, from mist. Noticed that Cecil's light was being doused by an evil force. Cecil tried his best to fight it, but it was increasing dramatically. With his last ounce of willpower, he pleaded Kain to run before he did the unforgivable. The dragoon didn't budge. Instead, he was begging him to stay by his side. "Cecil, snap out of it!" His cry ceased as he collapsed. He was still breathing, though. After a few seconds, they turned into deep breaths. Cecil! Cecil! Get up! You must! Eventually, his eyes fluttered as fast as Sylph's wings. His fingers started to twitch, then clench into a menacing fist. Oh, thank goodness! Backed away, Cecil slowly rose to his feet. His eyes were barely visible. Cecil! You're all right! Are you ready? Can you still fight? Cecil rose his head from the looks of it. He was very vacant. Yes, I can. I will fight, just like I promised. Turned his back on him, walked a few inches toward the altar, stopped abruptly, and continued. But you see, Kain, the only reason why I came here, the one I must fight, is you! He faced him. Cecil! That was precisely how he dueled with him back at the crystal room in Fabul under Gobalt's thrall. How is this happening? Draw your weapon, Kain! I don't understand. What's gotten into you? This is the end for you, not I. No, you can't. Hurrah! Kain immediately jumped 5 feet over him to avoid the onslaught. He landed on his feet and turned toward the possessed paladin. Cecil! Wait, we can settle this. Don't you recognize me? He still couldn't understand how and why his best friend is acting like this. Now that Zeromus is gone and Golbez is in slumber. Oh, I do recognize you. You are my best friend who turned traitor on me. You willingly endangered both me and my friends, especially Rosa. I was beaten, humiliated, and suffering close to death by you. Admit it! You wanted me out of the picture to have me slewed, so you could have everything you wanted. His body became cold with terror sweat. No, I would never hurt you. I only did it because I was possessed by your brother and Zemus. Yes, I wanted Rosa for myself, but I would never turn my back on you when I did. His nightmare was coming true. He always dreaded in facing hate and anger from his friends. And Cecil is usually forgiving. He felt even worse now that he wanted vengeance from all the brutality he caused by him. You're lying. That was truly your desire. Well, now I shall fulfill mine! There was the dark energy, plus the drums in his head became more audible. Kain sensed the deep darkness in his heart, so he quickly took out his spear. Looks like I have no choice but to fight. Cecil, if you could hear me, I will save you. Save me, if you can! The fight was on. Parried with his Abelan's dragoon shield. He saw his chance. Kain looked back between his legs and tripped, and he staggered, but instantly recovered. Kain whacked him with his lance, but Cecil blocked it. Impressive! Cecil threw Kain off, and he hit the ground, sliding on his back. Then saw Cecil run to him again. Then he jumped 50 feet in the air. The dark paladin looked up blankly, waiting for him to come down. As Kain descended, he saw his target through the clouds. He was ready to strike. Alas, he was not successful. Showing no nervousness, he casually took a sidestep. Kain landed back on the rough terrain, but missed Cecil. Impossible! How could I have missed? Cecil stabbed him directly in the lower abdomen. The deeper it went, the more pain. Looks like your training wasn't enough. You're still as weak and self-righteous as ever. Even though he's been through a lot, Kain's strength wasn't about to fail him just yet. Why are you doing this? What is it that you want? Want you to suffer for everything that you've done. Unlike me, you do not deserve atonement, let alone forgiveness. Isn't it the same things you have done? Save your breath. You're nothing but a leech to everyone you know. You always prefer to do things your way, never relying on the aid of your friends. You're nothing but a traitor and a backstabber. Clearly you are possessed. Ugh. What would you do if you were to get rid of me? Simple, Kain. To consume all with the darkness we've wrought. To rule all lands of this accursed planet and make our own. When I'm finished with you, We shall prevail. And to start it all, I'm going to finish Rosa. Nice and slow. Kain's hands were still free. To find something stunned Cecil. The hell you would. Found something and tossed it in his eyes. While the possessed warrior was vulnerable, Kain took the opportunity to heal himself with an elixir. After that, you shall pay for that! Gathered all his darkness and released it, however he missed. Struck the altar. It is a sacred hollow place. How could it be affected by the darkness? Then had his answer. The calming aura suddenly disappeared and the mountain started to shake violently. Kain stumbled and looked back at Cecil, who just casted an Esuna spell. Before he made another move, Kain pleaded, Cecil, stop! You'll kill us both! The summit started to crumble underneath the two fighters, almost making them immobilized. All around there were cracks forming. Some of the landmasses collapsed as the cracks grew wider. Chunks from the walls started to fall, making the summit smaller and more dangerous. The wooden bridge tried its best to keep its fixtures intact, but it too was suffering from the sudden change. Even the sky was transforming from darker shades to a menacing red. Radical lightning flashed across the sky, occasionally striking both Kain and Cecil. Even though the real Cecil was still out of commission, he would have felt panicked when he saw the cataclysm unfold. Just like in his dream. The mountain continued to shift as Cecil, who refused to leave, fought Kain once more. The city of this people started to panic. They saw Mount Ordeals take its new shape. And there was that cloud. It was a horrific sight. The elder, a black mage, and a white mage were praying at the tower dais. Everything was peaceful and quiet until... Elder! Elder! Paladin and Porum rushed toward them. Their faces were as white as a sculpture's bone. What is it, children? It's the mountain! It's falling apart! There's a dark cloud above the summit, too! Oh, I hope Sir Kain is all right. Deep boom was heard, and they saw the mountain shake. The cloud in the distance flashed, nearly blinding the land in an instant. Sir Kain is still up there? How can the dragoon or anyone survive this catastrophe alone? Twins were shivering and whimpering against his cloak like a loving father would. He calmed his kids. Let us pray for his safety. Kain was severely wounded and was breathing heavily. Cecil resumed his wrath. This is the end, old friend. Lightning struck the paladin and dropped his victim. His body was frozen and stiff, and he felt his heart stop. Kain smacked him with his shield. He went to the edge. He was still alive, but returned to his senses, desperately hung on to dear life. His body blew amongst the strong squalls like clothes on a line. Cecil, give me your hand! He was so grateful that Cecil had his normal complexion again. No, it has already been settled. His body was suddenly feeling warm but numb. Kain, take my place at the throne. You must. Cecil, what's wrong? The darkness, Kain. It's controlling me. Go now, while you still can. He couldn't continue to fight it. He was cracking amongst mental breakdown. No, not without you. His eyes were gazing into each other. It'd be the last time they'll see each other together. Cecil, no! Don't do this! The paladin was willing to take his own life in order to cleanse himself. I must. It's the only way. Kain, take care of Rosa. All this time, it's what you want to do. Cecil, I won't let you go. You're the one who takes care of her, no matter what. She needs a strong warrior like you to look after her. And so does our kingdom. You can't give all that up. You just can't. Please stay! He hasn't even redeemed himself yet. He couldn't possibly roll barren and watch over Rosa. Cecil reached and touched his head. Farewell, my lord. He let go. Then he lost consciousness. In Kain's vision, it was as if he was going down slowly. Watched his friend descend to death as he had flashbacks of the two of them. When they were kids, the two were having a quarrel. Cecil then admitted for starting it, which was when Rosa admired his honesty. Second, there was that showdown with the Mist Dragon. Third was the betrayal, then standing up against the Wind Empress Barisha. Next was the affirmation being made inside the lunar whale before the fight with Zemus. And lastly, promise of temperance in Mount Ordeals. "Hold on, Cecil! I'm coming!" He leapt from the edge, landing on rock to rock. Some gave way. After every jump, his descent became faster and harder. His mouth was drying, but he didn't give up. Eventually, he was going down faster than the paladin. Just several feet from the ground, he caught him. With a thud, he landed. His leg snapped in the process. He was aching, but he had to find cover before they get buried alive from the hefty debris. It was almost as if a whole continent was dropping. As a tremendous piece broke off from the summit, descending in a high rate, he leapt toward the bushes before they were clobbered. With a clatter that could have broken the sound barrier, the debris crashed. That was when the cataclysm finally ended. Wow, that was epic. First, Kain was a cold, self-centered anti-hero with no chance of redemption. He returned himself into a courageous, bold warrior, saving a friend's life in a matter of seconds. The same friend that he almost tried to kill. That is true heroism. This might change the way I'll see the infamous Dragoon forever. Or not, thanks to his backstabbing ways in Dissidia Duodecim. That was certainly short-lived. One question remains. Did Cecil die? Well, find out next time. I'm not going to spoil it with the interlude and such. It might be a lot more different. Who knows? So see you all then.